Hey everyone, welcome to Mr. Rainy Night. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. And if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, get comfy, relax, and let's begin. I've always found something eerily peaceful about the forest. The smell of pine, the crackle of twigs beneath boots, the hush that settles when you're deep enough that the highway hum dies out. That's why I used to love target shooting on weekends. Nothing but me, a buddy, and the open air. That all changed last October. I work private security in Colorado, just outside a small town called Evergreen. Quiet place, mountain views, good coffee, and, for the most part, decent people. At least, that's what I thought. I'd been with the company 6 months when 2 new hires, brothers named Travis and Kyle, joined the night shift. They kept to themselves, kind of intense, both into guns, always talking about new scopes or old military surplus. I wasn't close to them, but they weren't hostile either. They had that kind of blank politeness, the way people look at you without really seeing you. But one night, during a slow graveyard shift, I mentioned to a few guys that my roommate Eli and I were looking for a new place to shoot, somewhere out of the way where no one would mind. Travis perked up. You ever been out past Shadow Ridge? There's a good spot up there, a little pull-off on Forest Service Road 27B. Nobody goes that far, and the trail dips into this valley. We used it last weekend. Good cover, clean range. He even pulled up satellite maps on his phone, pointing out the best route. You'll see a clearing about 500 feet downhill, little shelf with good elevation. It sounded perfect. The next morning, Eli and I packed up early. I threw on my bright orange hoodie. It was chilly, and I've always worn high-vis gear when hiking. I'm a big guy, and the last thing I wanted was to look like a deer to some hunter. We drove an hour out, wound through the switchbacks, and found the exact trailhead Travis had shown me. No cell service, no signs, just forest and dirt and the occasional beer can. We parked off a gravel bend and saw the clearing down below. No one in sight, quiet as death. I call dibs on the Glock, Eli said, laughing. We started hiking down. We were maybe halfway to the clearing when I noticed it. Empty casings on the ground. Not unusual, but fresh, still shiny. My stomach tensed. Eli, I said slowly. Someone was just here. Then, like thunder, the crack of gunfire tore through the air. The first shot hit the dirt a few feet from Eli's boots. Go! I yelled, instinct kicking in. More shots rang out, loud, fast, deliberate. I could hear at least 2 different weapons, a high-pitched pop of a handgun and the deeper bark of a rifle. Rounds were whizzing past us, no warning shots, just straight-up live fire. Eli ran for a small ridge to our right, a shelf about 25 feet away. I followed, heart pounding in my throat. Bullets ripped through the branches above. I dove behind a boulder as rounds chipped bark and rock. They're shooting at us, I gasped. No shit, Eli shouted, gripping his sidearm but not firing. Can you see them? I peeked over. Nothing but pine and slope. No movement. Whoever it was, they were concealed and experienced. That's when it hit me. They had to know we were people. Bright hoodie, 2 full-grown men walking upright, not deer, not coyotes. Whoever was pulling those triggers knew what they were doing. We stayed down, waiting. At least 100 rounds were fired in the next 10 minutes, maybe more. Then, sudden silence. Just the wind. Our ears rang. No footsteps, no laughter, no voices. Eventually, we crawled up to the edge of the ridge and scanned the valley. They were gone, just like that. No shells, no figures, no car. But they left their trash, empty Red Bull cans, some plastic ammo boxes, and a little paper target still flapping on a tree. We didn't stick around. We got back to the car, locked the doors, and drove home in silence. Every pine tree felt like it had eyes. I kept checking the rearview mirror, waiting to see a truck tailing us. That night, back at work, I told my supervisor what happened. He just shook his head. Locals can get weird about their spots, he said. You probably walked into someone's range day. But I couldn't let it go. Next shift, I saw Travis by the lockers. I asked him offhand, "Hey, did you and Kyle go shooting this weekend?" He looked at me, too fast. "Nah, not this time. Busy. But I saw fresh shells and your target was still up there." I pushed. His face didn't change, but something in his eyes flickered. "Oh," he said. "Maybe someone else used the spot." Later that night, I caught Kyle in the break room. He wasn't as smooth. "Yeah, we were up there Saturday. You go Sunday or something?" I hadn't said when we went. I nodded slowly and left without another word. I knew. The type of guns I heard, the timing, the layout, it all matched. It was them. I don't know if they were just screwing with us, trying to scare us for fun, or if it was something darker. But that day in the woods, they tried to kill us, and they would have gotten away with it. I still have nightmares sometimes, bullets slicing air so close I could feel them. That feeling of being hunted, of knowing someone wanted you dead and smiled while doing it. I quit that job 3 weeks later, moved 2 states over, haven't gone shooting since. And if you ever meet someone who offers you a great new spot, don't go. Back in the late 80s, Portland wasn't the hip, gentrified city it is now. Sure, it had its charm. Coffee shops, old movie theaters, gritty art. But once night fell, the shadows deepened into something else. I was working at a dive bar near Hawthorne Street, mostly serving regulars from the LGBTQ community. The kind of place you either stumbled into by mistake or sought out because nowhere else felt safe. That's where I met Evan. He wasn't the kind of guy you'd expect to see in a bar like ours. He looked clean-cut, polished even, preppy in a Yale dropout sort of way. Button-down shirts, pressed jeans, always smelled like something expensive. But he had this look in his eyes, like he didn't sleep much. He'd just moved to Portland from somewhere back east. He said Boston, but there were little tells in his voice that said Connecticut. We became fast friends. Nothing romantic, at least not for me. He was polite, a bit too formal sometimes, but underneath that, he was lonely, desperately lonely. After a few weeks, Evan opened up to me, told me he was doing private work to make ends meet. Took me a beat to realize what that meant. He was turning tricks, not uncommon back then, sad but common. I didn't judge. He was careful, said most of his clients were discreet, predictable, and handsomely generous. Until one night. He came into the bar, eyes bloodshot, trembling as he downed 2 scotches in a row. "Something happened?" I asked. He paused for a long time, then nodded. "I need to stay with you for a few nights, please." We sat in the back office, lights dimmed, door locked. Evan leaned forward, arms on his knees, and told me about Mr. Landon. Apparently, Landon wasn't some street-level creep. He was wealthy, like penthouse on the hill wealthy. Drove a black Lincoln town car, had a chauffeur, wore cologne that smelled like ash and vanilla. Evan had seen him maybe once a month for nearly a year. Nothing too extreme. Some domination, submission games, mostly emotional control. But the last visit, it changed. Landon had offered him extra cash to stay the night. "I want to pretend you're mine," he said, "just for one night, that you belong to me." Evan, thinking it was part of the game, agreed, except it didn't stop. Landon locked the bedroom door, took Evan's phone, hid his clothes, said things like, "Wouldn't it be easier if you never left?" And, "I could keep you here, feed you, protect you from all the bad out there." Evan said he laughed it off, played along until Landon passed out. Then he slipped out wearing only his shoes and a hotel robe. But here's the part that made my skin crawl. The next night, Evan saw the town car parked 2 blocks from his apartment. The driver sitting still, headlights off. He thought it might be coincidence. Until the 3rd night, and the 4th, and the 5th. He didn't go home after that. I offered him the futon in my apartment. He slept with one eye open, kept checking the blinds. I'd never seen someone so frayed at the edges. Then, one morning, he was gone. No note, no call. Nothing. At first, I thought maybe he'd just gone back east. Maybe Portland had been too much. But I knew Evan. He wasn't the type to disappear without goodbye. I went by his place. His landlord said he moved out in the middle of the night, left everything behind. His mattress, clothes, even a shoebox full of photos. Weeks passed. I tried not to think about it. Life moved on. The bar got new faces. People stopped asking where Evan went. Then one Sunday, I saw a small column in the back of the local paper. Unidentified male, mid-20s, found deceased in a vacant lot near East Burnside. No signs of trauma. Authorities suspect exposure or overdose. Investigation ongoing. No photo, no follow-up. I clipped it anyway. Something in my gut turned over. I kept the name Landon in the back of my mind, tried to find records, anything. Real estate, business listings, criminal complaints. Nothing ever came up. Maybe it wasn't even his real name. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I see that same black town car parked across the street from my apartment. The kind that doesn't belong to anyone in this neighborhood. And I remember the way Evan whispered it. He said he could keep me forever. It started as a dare, like all stupid stories do. There's an abandoned psychiatric hospital about 40 minutes outside of Cedar Hollow, up near Aspen Hill Road. Everyone in town knows about it. Boarded up windows, sagging roof, graffiti everywhere. The kind of place teenagers whisper about in locker rooms and try to sneak into after dark. I wasn't even supposed to be there that night. My buddy Marcus talked me into it. Said he and two friends, Tyler and Bry, had already been once during the day and wanted to go back at night for the vibes. I was skeptical. I hated breaking into places, but they promised it would just be a quick look. No damage, no weird rituals, just flashlights, a phone camera, and dumb commentary for their Reels followers. We parked in the gravel lot outside the rusted front gate. The building loomed in front of us like a dead thing waiting to be touched. Vines crept up the brick walls, and one of the metal doors hung open like a lazy jaw. Inside, it was exactly what you'd expect. Furniture scattered across the floors, overturned gurneys, medical charts torn to shreds, file cabinets gutted and left like carcasses. It smelled like mold, rust, and something vaguely sweet. Too sweet. Bree joked that this place probably had a ghost receptionist still taking patient calls. We all laughed, but it didn't feel funny. We made our way up the crumbling stairwell to the third floor. Someone had spray painted "Don't Go Beyond Room 310" in huge red letters across the hallway wall. Naturally, that was the first place Marcus wanted to go. We ignored it, of course. I mean, what's a haunted asylum without some over-the-top graffiti? That's when the static started. We didn't hear it at first, not until Tyler pointed out his phone audio was glitching. Then we all noticed it. A soft, low hum, like a broken TV stuck between stations. It was coming from down the hallway near room 310. Marcus laughed, shining his flashlight down the corridor. Bet someone rigged a speaker. Classic prank. But when he stepped toward it, it cut off. Just silence. We stood there, breathing, waiting. Then something slammed, loud, like a door being thrown shut on the floor below us. Bree gasped. "Did someone else come in?" We checked our surroundings. Nobody in sight. The echo died quickly, but the dread lingered. The air felt heavier. The static returned, louder now, like it was crawling into our ears. "We should leave," I muttered. We ran. We sprinted down the stairs, stumbling on loose debris and rotting floorboards. The air felt like it was pressing against our chests. I couldn't hear anything except my own breath and the blood pounding in my ears. Once outside, the lot looked different. It should have been empty. We parked under the old lamppost near the tree line, but now there was another car, a black sedan, no lights, no sound, just sitting there, angled like it had pulled in fast and didn't straighten out. "Was that here before?" Tyler asked. "No," Marcus whispered. "I'd remember that." Then the headlights flashed, once, then darkness, then again, a slow, deliberate blink of blinding light. We froze. My instincts screamed to run, so I did. I bolted for Marcus's car, yanked the door, locked. "Keys!" I shouted. Marcus fumbled in his pocket, but something behind us shifted. The car, it moved. Not forward, not backward. It seemed to glide sideways, wheels barely making a sound on the gravel, as if it was adjusting its position to see us better. Then the engine roared to life. A blinding spotlight from the headlights washed over us, and I swear, I saw a figure in the driver's seat. Just a shadow. A person-shaped void. We ran toward the trees. Branches whipped at our faces. Behind us, the gravel crunched as tires spun. I didn't dare look back until we reached the old drainage ditch beyond the fence line. When I turned, the car was gone. Gone. No lights. No sound. Just the empty lot under the orange glow of that single flickering lamppost. We didn't speak. We climbed back over the hill, cut through the woods, and found a gas station on the highway to call a ride. When we came back the next morning with the sheriff, the building was the same. Ruined, empty, dead. But there were no tire tracks, and Marcus's car, it was gone too. I hadn't seen Aunt Marjorie in years, not since Dad's funeral. She was my late mother's older sister, always a bit of a recluse, the type who lived on the edge of nowhere and refused to own a smartphone. So when I got a handwritten letter from her asking me to visit for a few days, I thought it might be a chance to reconnect, maybe clear my head after the mess that had been my last relationship. The bus dropped me off 2 miles outside Red Hollow, a dusty speck of a town in northern Arizona. From there, I had to walk along a cracked dirt road until I reached her house, or rather, what used to be a house. It looked like something out of an abandoned Western movie. Peeling paint, a sagging porch, and a roof that moaned in the wind. But the lights were on, faint, yellow, flickering lights. She greeted me at the door like I'd never left. Same apron, same hair in a loose bun, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Something in them flickered, like uncertainty or fear. "You made it," she said, voice raspy. "Not many people do." I laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. But the inside of the house wasn't much better than the outside. Rooms were half empty, furniture missing or shoved into corners. One room was padlocked shut. The hallway light buzzed and dimmed constantly. "I don't go in there," she said when I pointed to the locked door. "Old things better left alone." I didn't press. Maybe I should have. The first 2 nights were strange, but manageable. Aunt Marjorie cooked, told me stories about Mom I'd never heard, and kept the curtains drawn at all times. She flinched every time a car passed on the dirt road outside. And when I offered to fix the broken porch light, she shook her head violently. "They'll know someone's here." "Who?" She never answered. On the 3rd night, I woke up around 2 a.m. to the sound of whispering voices, male voices, not inside, but just outside my window. I peeked through the blinds and saw 2 men in hoodies crouched beside the porch, speaking in Spanish. One held a duffel bag, the other carried a pistol tucked into his waistband. I froze. They didn't knock, didn't look toward the window, just disappeared around the back. The next morning, I asked Marjorie if she had neighbors. She just stared at her coffee. "Don't ask questions you're not ready for." I started snooping, quietly. The padlocked room called to me. That afternoon, when she went out to get fresh air, I picked the lock with a paperclip from my backpack. Inside was a nightmare. Large black bags of powder stacked along the back wall. A chemical smell that stung my eyes. A metal table with scales, ziplocs, and rolls of cash. Guns wrapped in rags. It wasn't a storage room. It was a drug processing site. I backed out and shut the door, heart thudding so loud I thought it would give me away. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I told Aunt Marjorie I wanted to leave. She nodded without asking why, almost like she expected it. But as I packed, she came into my room and closed the door. "I never asked for this," she said. "They needed a place.
I owed someone money years ago. They came back and said this house was perfect. Said I wouldn't have to do anything except keep quiet. Why didn't you call the police? I asked, barely whispering. They said if I did, they'd burn the whole place down. With me inside. With anyone else I let in. We both stood there in silence. I wanted to beg her to come with me, but I decided to leave without her because I couldn't stand being there any longer. That house, those walls, felt like they were closing in. As I reached the front gate with my backpack, a black SUV pulled onto the dirt road, then stopped. Tinted windows, engine idling. No one got out. I didn't wait. I ran, through the ditch, across the tree line. I flagged down a passing pickup truck and told the driver I was stranded. He didn't ask questions. When I looked back through the dust, I saw the SUV still there, just sitting, watching the house. I called the sheriff anonymously 2 days later, told them there might be something illegal happening at a rural address near Red Hollow. I never heard what came of it. Aunt Marjorie's number was disconnected. The letter she sent me? I burned it. But sometimes I still dream of that locked room, of the sound the lock made when it clicked open, and of the feeling that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't supposed to leave alive.
My name's Eli. I'm 23, and even now, after therapy, after the police report, after the blood tests, I still don't know what really happened that weekend at Willow Creek Lake House. It was supposed to be simple. A weekend away with friends. Just 6 of us. Me, my girlfriend Anna, and 4 others. Jake, Mia, Tristan, and Lex. We rented the house through a friend of a friend. Remote, no neighbors, right by the water. The first night was perfect. Bonfire, cheap beer, and late night swimming under a pale moon. We were laughing so hard my face hurt. Anna had brought her Bluetooth speaker and was dancing barefoot on the dock. Everything felt blissfully unreal. I remember going inside to get my water bottle. Then, blank. Not total blackness, more like a film reel with missing frames. I remember Anna screaming my name, something crashing, Mia yelling, "Call someone!" But her voice was muffled, like I was underwater. And then I woke up in the guest room with a massive gash on my shoulder, dried blood on my shirt, and everyone gone. I sat there for what felt like hours. My limbs felt like they were made of stone. My mouth tasted bitter, metallic. I only pieced it together afterward. Bits and pieces. Some of my memories are vague at best, and others are just gone. Not blurry, missing, like someone sliced out a part of me and left a hole. I found my phone in the bathroom sink. Screen cracked. Battery dead. My backpack had been rifled through, and my water bottle was on the couch, uncapped. I always keep it sealed. Always. I stumbled outside, calling out, "Anna? Jake? Anyone?" Nothing but the chirp of insects and the rustling of trees in the wind. And then I saw the footprints. Mud. Lots of it. Leading from the dock back to the house. I followed them instinctively. One set was barefoot. The other, dragging slightly. As if someone had been pulling someone else. My breath caught when I saw Anna's hoodie tangled in the reeds by the water. It was soaked. I don't know what possessed me, but I dove in. No plan, just panic. And halfway down, I saw it. Her phone glowing faintly beneath the water, screen flickering like a dying firefly. I surfaced, gasping, shaking, and ran to the front of the house. A single truck was parked crooked on the gravel road. Not ours, not one I recognized. The keys were still in the ignition. I didn't ask questions. I drove. I ended up at a gas station 10 miles down. Collapsed on the floor next to the Red Bull fridge, shirt still soaked, shoulder bleeding. The guy at the counter called 911. They found me incoherent, rambling about the lake, drag marks, and something in my drink. They took me to the hospital, ran tests. The blood work showed trace amounts of a sedative, something used in veterinary practices. The cops asked me questions I didn't have answers to. I kept asking about Anna, where she was, if she'd been found. They told me she was safe, that she'd called emergency services from a diner outside the lake area 3 hours after I fled. She said she didn't remember much, just waking up by the dock and realizing everyone had left. She hitchhiked out. But that's not possible. I saw her hoodie in the water. I heard her scream my name. She doesn't remember any of that. The others? They all had slightly different stories. Said I started acting weird after a few drinks. One said I went into the woods by myself and came back talking nonsense. Another claimed I tried to jump into the fire pit. Tristan even said I attacked Anna, but no one could agree. Every story contradicted the others. They've all cut contact since, even Anna. I've tried reaching out. No answer. Her number's disconnected. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I remember a red glow coming from the water, or the sound of voices behind me that didn't belong to anyone I knew. Sometimes I think I was being watched. Sometimes I think I still am. But the worst part? There are gaps in my memory, holes that no one can explain. Not the doctors, not the police, not me. And when I sleep, I dream of someone holding my hand under the lake, gently tugging me down, whispering things I don't understand. And every time I wake up, I'm thirsty, and my water bottle's never where I left it.